and the one that would apply to what you're doing, because there's a lot of words. So you could see all the statistical tables, but the one that applies to us is it would look something like the factor analysis table, except you won't have numbers, you'll have letters here because there'll be variables. So factor one would be the variables, so the program mission, and then you would have information on the factor loading. But the one that looks is going to look very similar to what you're going to be doing is probably the qualitative table with variable description. So you have the variable that we talked about, or like program mission, vision, strategic plan, and then you'll have program mission, and then you're going to, like in quotes like this, put it in, and it's just going to be like a running list of information that you have found on the programs that you're looking at. So for instance, you may be looking at, for instance, this would be program one, and then program two, how Padlet is listed, and then you can kind of see in a snapshot what their vision, mission, how do they differ, how are they alike, and that's going to help you to kind of visualize what you're going to be writing about. So it's more of a brainstorming session and also getting you comfortable in the APA 7th edition, because like I said, it came out a couple of years ago, and the 6th edition was around for a decade or so. So, and then you have the notes. So this is a table right before the table that I shared with you, which was the quantitative and qualitative research, tables like this. And it's all words as opposed to what you're used to for regular tables with numbers. So if you have further questions, we can go over it again, which is not a problem. It's better to go over them because of the fact that formatting is going to be an important part of your grade. And so, and like I said, that part is going to be a little bit of a busy work because you're kind of fact-finding mission, right? So, but if you have other questions, I will also save them for later. It's the program that you want to look at. So I'm going to put the Excel sheet in the chat. Let me see if I can find it. So this is an example. So it's going to change a little bit, but it's going to give you an idea of, it's a little old, but it has all the components of what we're going to be looking at for assignment 2. There's not going to be a lot of writing except the summary statement, but it's a big document. So let me see if I can show you what that is. I just have to close out some of my accounts here. And let me see if I can open up the Excel sheet for you, and then I'll talk about the group project. Let me see if I can get to my Excel sheet. I closed. Okay, so it should, oh, it's failed to send. I think it's too big right now. But let me just open it up so I can show you what you're going to be looking at. And then let me share that with you in here. So you can see what I'm seeing. It's downloading, but so I'm gonna make the font bigger for you so you could see it. So this is a couple years back. It's not letting me send it, so I will share it with you. It's a big file. So this is what a Excel sheet of developing a program would look like. So if you go, so it's a template that has a bit of a narrative. It tells you about the Department of Finance, there's a spelling error, enrollment growth rate. And it tells you about the background, because the enrollment rate and everything else actually depends on the inflation, the growth or the contraction of our economy, etc. So this is a little outdated, but I just wanted to give you some of the things that you're going to be looking at. So you could take a look. I'll put it in Canvas, but basically this is a worksheet, and I'll make it a little bit bigger. And like I said, it could be a little daunting, but I just want you to take a look at the worksheet. So basically, this is a department of a finance department, right? Out of all the departments, it's a finance department, and it gives you, and like I said, I'll share this with you, and it gives you different years of the budget. But as you can see, you have the full-time salary personnel. These are just examples from this school. And for the lecture purposes, I'm going to use it so you have some guidelines to look at what we're looking at. So you have full-time salaries, and then you have some lecturers, and then we're going to look at, some discretionary services, for example. They may be, it's not common for all, but you can look at not only the personnel, but the operational. Yeah, with salaries like that, is this, yeah. I know. So this is, like I said, there's a huge number of full-time faculty members. And one of the things that I want you to be looking at is your operating expenses. So you're going to be looking at, some departments will have conferences. So for example, for the last 2 years, I've been the faculty sponsor, the chair of our graduate studies. And these conferences cost money. So for us, it's in-house, so it's not going to be very expensive, but it has a cost to it, right? There's educational supplies, and of course, the accounting code, for example, depends on the school. It's not an IRS code. It's an accounting code that is used or unique to the university. But I just wanted to give you a sense of some of the things that you have to think about just running a department. So advertising, non-professional services, dues and memberships, for example, software purchases, or even Zoom. It's software that you have to pay annual subscription. Now it's telecom, but data processing services, office supplies, so papers, ink, etc., printing, postage, professional development software. So these are some of the operating expenses for this particular department. And then what you're going to also look at is how it's separated. So you have the subtotal, some of the direct, and then you have some of the variances, like, you may not have all part-time lecturers. So these are some of the budgets that we're looking at. And then some other expenditures, so travel paid by the dean's office, or some stock track paid by the dean's office. So these may be some of the expenses. By no means it's a full list, but I wanted you to kind of take a look at some of the budgets that you should be thinking about when you are creating programs. So personnel is a big thing, right? And when we talk about personnel, it's not just their salary, but their benefits too. So those of you who have not employed people, this may be all new. And like I said, I'm just giving you an overview so you have an idea of what kind of budget that we're looking at. It's not going to be this comprehensive, but there's going to be essential components in it. So basically, expenses and revenue to run the program and that you're proposing. Okay. What's great about this is some of the initiatives that you're going to be working on. So strategic strategy. So we talked about budgeting, but we also talked about financial planning and strategies, for example. They're all going to kind of live in the same Excel sheet so you can go back and forth. But this is an example of what they're going to be doing. So they're going to advertise and promote new concentrations in personal finance planning, for example. And it tells you about like what metric and how we're going to, figure out how much we have earned from this new initiative. You also have recommendations, for example. A lot of the budgets have to be approved by the committee, either on a department level, school level, or university level, depending how the budget or the money lives. Some universities you have a centralized, some of them are dispersed by schools and by their enrollment. So for example, if your school is a big money maker, for example, they may have their own funds, but it all depends. You also have executive member such as provost. So you have, remember, we had the administrative faculty. So it might be in a different budget line looking at how you're going to structure. So you have the program, but it's also impacted by the university. So I just want to give you some 10,000 level overview of what you're looking at so you have an idea. Remember in that quick video that I told you about expenses and revenues? So in this case, they don't have revenue scheduled at this point, but there's a list of funding that you can get. So grants from federal, state, it could be foundations, it could be donations that you can put in here and how you're going to use it. Some grants are for strictly for, let's say, scholarship. Some funds are strictly for research. So those are some of the funding that's going to come in. And then you have some of the academic data, right? So like I said, I asked you to look at a snapshot of the two programs that you're looking at. And if you are running a program, these are what you have to be looking at. So for instance, we want to look at how many full-time students are enrolled in one semester, second semester, because remember, tuition is a big part of revenue generating, right? It's what's coming in to pay for the expenses. So a lot of times we're looking per each academic year. And then also we're looking at full-time, part-time, majors. So depending on, for us, we're looking at programs. So that's one of the reasons why I asked you, is it undergrad or graduate program? So we could just focus on one area. Otherwise, if you're running the whole program, we have to take into consideration everything, right? Undergrad, graduate, doctoral, you have all this. You have the faculty count, how many faculty, right? Part-time. And then, so this is actually going to be a little bit more relevant than some of the other sheets that you're looking at. So this is a part of a sheet of running the academic program. And if you are a little bit confused, don't worry about it. Like I said, I just want to give you an overview of what you're looking at, and I will send it's not downloading in the chat, unfortunately. So what I'll do is I'll put it on Canvas and you could take a look at how this worksheet is divided, and it'll make a lot of sense. Those of you who handle numbers, if you don't handle a lot of numbers, you can still see what it looks like. And then full-time salaries, for instance, like I said, UIW does not have public information about salaries of faculty, but UTSA, UT, any of the UT systems will have, if you go to the website, it's all listed. You could see how much they are paid. So in this case, it's separated by, in this worksheet, you have the full-time salaries to give you an idea of what they are, and how many professors are hired at which rank, for instance. And then you also have what you call capital equipment. So anything that is over 1,000. So for example, if you have a 3D printer, if you have a lab equipment where you have, DEXA equipment or something that costs a lot of money, this will all go in there and it tells you how much it costs. And then you have smaller equipment that you purchase that is below $1,000 as well that you have to keep track of. So like I said, if you have not run a business or a program, I know it's a little overwhelming. So I want you to kind of look at the sheet once you're done with your assignment one, or if you need a little bit of a break and kind of look at what you're looking for, take a look at this sheet. Our sheet is going to be simplified. I just want to give you like a full picture. A simplified version, of course, is going to be faculty, right? Because you're running programs, staff that's going to run the program, right? And some of the equipment. So for us, we're probably not going to create a science lab. Therefore, you don't have to worry about some of the equipments that you have to worry about running a lab itself. So I'm going to pause my slides. So depending on, it's at the end, let me get to it. So the group projects. So like I said, I'm emphasizing because I went back to school a couple of years back and there was a lot of group projects and working full time with being a parent and all that stuff, it could be really difficult. So I'm going to give you an option. You're not going to get a lesser grade, but if you want to work alone, you can do that. So it's a case study group project or individual project, and the topics are as follows. So these are the topics. Oh, it's a little small. I'm so sorry. So the first topic is marketing a mission. So marketing a mission and first year experience is the first topic. The second one is retention, graduation, alumni, and fundraising development is the second topic. Operation of department, school, and university. And the last one is actually creating a education of, so doctorate in education, program at UIW. This all applies to UIW. So the first one is marketing and UIW mission of our program, right? The retention of our program, and then the operation of our school is that's the case study. So I need you to kind of give me, you can private chat me, and then what you want to do is tell me your 1, 2, 3, 4 your preferences for the topics. And so it doesn't have to be tonight, but I need you to tell me two people that you would like to be grouped with. So you don't have to place them in preferences at that moment or ranking. It's the topics that I need your ranking. So marketing, etc. And then retention, graduation, alumni, fun, and development. The other one is operation of the department, so this department, schools and university, and development of doctorate in education at UIW in this program. So those are the three case studies that you're going to be looking at, because everything exists. Unfortunately, the budget of anything is not public. So you're going to create like an ideal world of, okay, so if the sky was the limit, how would you run? So for example, the first group project, let's say if I picked the marketing and mission and first year experience, for example, for my group case study example is, how are they doing the marketing now? And then what would you do better in terms of, like, if you have the Toyota, but now you want to go into Cadillac or, BMW or, Lamborghini version of the marketing, how would you do that? So so basically the presentation is what's happening now as an observation from your student perspective as a group. The numbers are not, like I said, I'm not grading you on the numbers at all because it doesn't, you can't access them, right? Because it's not public knowledge, right? It's the second part. You tell us what you observe, right? What's going on now? But in a perfect world where money is no object, what would you do? So how much budget would you need to have in that world? So you can even pick a number in terms of, if it's hard to find, then you kind of group that in one of your assessments. And I'll have more of an explanation, but I need to know who is going to do what. So I will give you more detailed information. So it's going to be a 20-minute presentation, and then all of you will talk. So if it's 2 people, it's 10-minute each. If it's 3 people, you divide, be like 21 minutes. So all of you talk for 7 minutes, to be fair. And then you're going to talk about this topic. So it is called a case study because the case exists, and it'll be relevant to all of you because you're in this program. So I want to see what your perception is, what you can find in this area, and then what would you do? Like, what would be the budget so for example, social media campaigns can cost so much money. So Nike and all these name brand, they spend a lot of money in social media, also paying influencers to say certain things on social medias, for example, or tag them and stuff. So that's what you're going to be doing. So let me just pause here. I know there were some questions.